Shalom, giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruach HaKodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Honors, salutations, and blessings to you brothers that are pushing the gospel of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, in all sincerity, diligence, and truth, and peace and grace be upon the house of David, which is the elect. Okay, just wanted to touch on a quick topic, all right, entitled, as you see, A Time Like Never Before. All right, and I was just watching a couple of news clips, reading a couple articles, and as we see the downfall of Babylon, commencing, the new plague, okay, that is being talked about on a high level is cyber attacks. All right, and you have the Biden administration. You got different various governmental officials, warning of a potential cyber attack that Russia, being the person or the aggressor of these cyber attacks, or the perpetrator of these cyber attacks, could possibly do on the United States. The United States, whether it be the grid, or whether it be the water, whether it be the energy, or whether it be the financial. That's something that they're constantly talking about. Now, I was listening to a video, a news video, whatever. I forgot exactly where I was watching it or who was saying it, but it was basically saying how this up and coming conflict that we're in right now is not like the time of the 2001. All right, when Babylon America went to war with Iraq. All right, also like the time of the Cold War. All right, or any other a conflict with another nation or country in history. And it's because those conflicts didn't have the ability to have cyber warfare. All right. But cyber warfare is something that is new. Okay. So cyber warfare is something that is, within the last, you could say 10 years, that has been something that is a new threat to a country. And I was meditating on how you can have a cyber attack that can completely, destroy a country without actually shooting any type of conventional weapons at that country. All right. And that's why, when they was talking about how Russia would invade Ukraine, they were saying that basically it would be first by a cyber attack, because a cyber attack will cripple the whole, economy, cripple the communications of the government, so on and so forth. And when I was hearing that, that person say that, it made me think of the scriptures where the Lord had warned that the times of the end was going to be like a time of never before. Okay, because never before was there a electrical grid being taken down, where the whole country or whole part of a country goes dark. All right. Never before was a financial industry of a particular country attacked all at once, where they couldn't, the citizens of that country couldn't get, their money. All right. Or whether a potential attack happened on the water. All right. The water, the aggregate of a water system, where that can be, cause a problem where water is now not being produced at its normal rate, which can cause, the water to be defiled, and therefore that can become a biological weapon. All right. So I'm gonna play this clip as you right here. This it says how sanctions on Russia may draw cyber attacks on United States. And like I said, this is something that they're constantly pushing out. And through the spirit, I believe that they're going to use this as a pretext, all right, for a false flag event, and then just blame Russia for it. Okay. So and don't be surprised that they would do something like that, because we already know in history that Babylon the Great has a history of doing so. When you just go back to you can't even talk about it, but when you go back to a particular date, all right, in 2001, all right, which they said that was a quote unquote attack by outside source, but can't say too much about that. But yeah, that right there in itself is was an event that was orchestrated and then blamed on another country, so that they could do what ultimately was a bigger power grab. Because what came of that event was the NDAA. All right, I believe that's what it was called, the Patriot Act. Okay, which ultimately just led to more surveillance and more civil liberties and rights and freedoms being taken from the citizens of Babylon. All right, but without further ado, let me play this for a little bit.
Imposing sanctions on Nord Stream 2 in response to Russia's aggression. That is not going to make Moscow very happy. We have already heard about the threats of potential cyber attacks. And earlier on today, Ukraine already saying some government websites have been the victims of cyber attacks. Of course, not blaming Russia directly, but it wouldn't be the first time that has happened. How much is that a surprise to you?
Great to be here. Thank you for having me. Not a surprise at all. I think that we've been watching this really vigilantly over the last, several weeks, if not months at this point. And I think, the breaking news that you just referred to is going to add to the context that Russia, in its efforts with Ukraine specifically, this may redirect some of that spite in our direction directly. We've been worried about the supply chain nature of the attacks on Ukraine, the vulnerability of a threat that might be deployed there, similar to what we saw with NotPetya years ago. And that's been the concern. But now with the sanctions, which I understand are a needed effort, that does start to draw some fire directly onto us, which is the greater concern now.
And then how vulnerable are we, and which sectors are the most vulnerable? Are they, the power sector, water, or are they those tied to efforts to aid Ukraine, for example, government agencies and military operations?
So she just asked the question, saying how vulnerable is America on getting cyber attacks. All right, and this place, all right, is scriptures calls it the place of unwalled villages, man. Okay, because the Lord has a judgment that's going to set forth in Babylon, America, all right, and its people, all right, that we're actually that's actually being fulfilled, as we speak. So these cyber attacks, although they're going to, affect the governmental infrastructure, that's going to obviously have a trickle effect, or a even more catastrophic effect, you could say, on the actual people. All right, because the government, like I said before, I believe through the Spirit, this is being orchestrated, okay, so that they could bring in a new, system, all right, which will be digital. But before in order to do that, they got to destroy or collapse this one. And the people are going to be the ones who are going to hurt the most, man. And this is why we are constantly warning our people of the times to come, because you're not going to have any succor. You're not going to have anywhere to be defended, from these things, man. But because you don't have anywhere to be defended, when Esau comes through with his quote unquote solution, you're going to think, if you don't have the wisdom and knowledge of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, that is the only solution to take, which was the same thing, they did with the whole Emic, all right, with the Icky Vicky. Okay, so they're setting up the scenario, and as we always speak upon it, the Hegelian dialectic, man, the problem, reaction, solution, order out of chaos, man. And you can see how they're consistently propagating the chaos of a cyber attack and going all the way back to 2020. And like I said, we keep saying it. You had the World Economic Forum speak about how there's going to be a cyber pandemic. Okay. And 2 years later, what are we seeing right now? What is the major talk of the town? What is the major talk of an imminent threat? All right, so let's listen to what he says, how he responds.
Yes, I think it's both. Honestly, not to sort of cast a wide net, but it really is all intertwined. The nature of our world today is so interconnected with supply chain and third-party partnerships that unfortunately a lot of private sector and public sector and military and government agencies are inextricably connected, whether it's in country or externally. So the concerns are that if an organization in the Ukraine may be hit, or an industry for that matter in the Ukraine may be hit, there could be US companies or allied companies that are there that sort of get caught in the crossfire or are laterally infected by whatever is used there to attack that environment, and that would then proliferate onto the home country, right? So unfortunately, to answer your question explicitly, yes, absolutely, critical infrastructure is of high concern, because that's going to have the broadest implications for natural course of things and daily life for everyone. But unfortunately, the attacks on the private sector that directly support those environments are going to likely be what is looked at by these nation state actors, because the security and the operational security of those environments are less typically than some of the more armored and equipped institutions, right? So it's that easy conduit or easy vector which is what we're worried is going to be leveraged.
Right. So everything that's interconnected, man, the private and the public sector. Okay. So if if a cyber attack does happen, you can have a widespread chaos because everything is connected. It could something that happens, let's say in the public sector, can trickle down and affect the private sector and vice versa, which will ultimately affect, how the guy just said, everybody's everyday lives, man. All right. And on top of that, you already have Babylon dealing with so many other pestilences or calamities or plagues that the Lord is sending on this place, that, as the scripture says, there is no healing Babylon, man. All right. There is no healing Babylon. So we are literally witnessing the downfall of this place. All right. And as the Lord said, it's going to be like a time like never before. And that reasoning is because of technology, of the way situations or catastrophic events take place. All right, so now let me get this other quick article. This is coming from Pix 11 New York News. It says New York bracing for cyber attacks in response to U.S. sanctions on Russia. All right, hey, and if a cyber attack hit New York, this place is will it's going to be over, man. All right, it will be completely devastating because of just the density of the population in New York. All right, also with the different things that are operating there and how many people are there. It won't. Hey, you'll just see a complete chaos, man, pandemonium. But let me try to play that. I don't like that. Hold on 1 second. All right. Hopefully that stays like that. All right. It says, bear with me. So it says state authorities are warning New York could be in the crosshairs of any Russian response to U.S. sanctions. The United States literally in the last few hours just issued sanctions. Governor Kathy Hochul said sometimes for the very action, there's a reaction. So once again, they're telling you that they are expecting some type of response. All right. And they're telling you that the response could be a cyber attack on a major American city, man. All right. And if that does take place, who is going to feel the brunt of that force? All right. The inner cities. And who is in the inner cities? Jacob, going back to Jeremiah 30:7, the time of Jacob's trouble. Because if the water stops going, all right, in urbanized cities, where you got a condensed amount of a population, all right, with a limited amount of resources, and then those resources are not flowing in consistently, what is that going to cause? What is that going to cause? That's going to cause pandemonium. All right. So it says Tuesday, the governor launched what will be known as the Joint Security Operations Center, flanked by Mayor Eric Adams and other top local leaders. Technology, whether you like it or not, is at the heart of everything we do every day. All right. And that's why they're trying to move forward with this technology to ultimately the digital world. OK, so they're going to use an attack on how technology is being used today to bring in a technology-based society where they have complete dominance and control of everything through embedded devices, aka the RFID microchip, which is the mark of the beast. So it says we start our days by picking up the phone. We do banking online. We communicate with our loved ones, our children's. We run our city on technology. All right. And that's what they ultimately want. They want a more smart cities. All right. Where everything is interconnected. OK. And on a digital, on a more, digital scale. So it says when you have that technology, you are hacking our entire city. The idea is to spend $92 million a year to harden public digital infrastructure and hire 70 more security professionals immediately. The governor said that the state loses billions each year to successful cyber attacks, but fends off dozens each day. It says Vahid, a cybersecurity professional, a professor at the University of New Haven, shares some insight into the practical impact of a cyber attack. He said attacks could include an attempt to shut down major infrastructure like the MTA, the power grid, or water utilities. The targeting of New York City's financial sector, especially considering the sanctions, might be on the table. So if you attack the power grid in New York City, do you know the devastation that will cause within hours, or even the water utilities? And if they do something to the financial sector, you're going to see executives, CEOs, people going to go berserk, man. All right, because everybody has this mindset that this place can't be touched. So when this place actually does get touched, people are going to lose their wits. That's why the scripture says what? Wisdom, knowledge, and understanding shall be the stability of thy times, man. All right. Hey, the power grid, like I said, that affects people that's in hospitals. All right. The medical field. So you have mass people just dying. Okay. People that's on dialysis. People that's on different what's it called? I'm looking for different electrical things that they need in order to survive, for lack of a better word. All right. So it says, especially the water, if you take the water, like I said earlier, that can cause, the water to be contaminated. And then you got people that's going to be ransacking different stores trying to get water because they can't get water from the refrigerator, from the tap. Okay. But these are the things that people are not considering, man. But this is the times that we're living in. So it says, especially considering the sanctions on the table, he is most worried about a Russian attempt to make the inflation crisis worse. It says a further blow on the supply chain would be a blow to the city, state, and federal level here in the United States. So that's major. That's everywhere. It says city, state, and federal. But like I said, who's going to feel it the worst, the quickest? Israel, because they're in what, these condensed urbanized areas where the population is bigger than the supply that they're getting. All right. So it says, he said, Bazendine said the mayor and the governor continues to stress cooperation because of any potential cyber attack gets much worse if the main concern is simply public relations. If a company notices something odd and keeps it to itself, it's going to have a local, regional, and national consequence, he said. Hochul stressed there was no specific threat at this time against New York and is confident the private sector will be transparent, which it is legally required to do so. All right. And they always do that. They say, oh, well, there's no threat at this time. But that's the same thing, that they were saying about the Ukraine, saying, oh, they have no credible specific threat on Ukraine, getting a cyber attack on them. But then all of a sudden, cyber attack hit Ukraine today. All right. So let's get one or two scriptures and we'll close it up. This is Matthew 24, verse 21. It says, then shall there be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. All right. And like I said before, one of the reasons for that tribulation is because there's a different type of warfare that can be, that can happen, which is a cyber attack, cyber warfare, which ultimately this is going to get to the physical nukes. All right, it's going to happen, which that's something that has never been on the earth before. A nuclear ICBM missile dropping. You had an atomic bombs, but you never had nuclear missiles. But like I said, you didn't even have cyber attacks, happening as part of a warfare before. Okay, which a cyber attack can cripple a infrastructure without even actually having to go into that country to do it. All right, which will have a quick and negative effect on the population, man. So it says, and except those days be shortened, there shall no flesh be saved. Yeah, because once again, everything is in this world is ran off of technology, as the mayor of New York said. All right, everything is ran off of technology, from your water to your gas to your electricity to your heat to your communication to your banking. All right, everything is ran off technology. So if your technology is affected, then you literally are living in a ticking time bomb. All right, and that's why the scripture says that those days when these things happen, those days got to be short for the elect's sake, man. All right, because there'll be no flesh left to be saved if there was a major cyber attack on the whole United States all at once, and everything was down for months on end. There would be no flesh saved, man. Everybody would end up dying because the water wouldn't be cleaned. The food would be not edible. All right. You won't have no heat for the wintertime. Okay. So, that's the times that we're in. So let me get this last one and I'll close it out. This is the book of Daniel, chapter 12, verse 1. It says, and at that time, all right, what time? The time I've never before. All right. At that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, all right, which is an angel, spiritual, divine intervention, great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people, the Israelites, the elect of Israel. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as was never since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time shall thy people be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. Okay, and how we're going to be delivered is going to be through the grace and mercy of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai for his elect. Okay, the ones that have kept the faith, that have kept the patience, that have endured, man. All right, and that's who we hope to be. Okay, prisoners of hope. So, hey, I just want to bring that out, Lord willing, edifying it to the elect. Till next time, shalom.